Networks don't talk about it. Government can't tax it. But sports betting is a $200 billion a year business.
That's a major U.S. Supreme Court ruling that could open the door for legalized sports betting all across the country.
The Supreme Court is giving the green light for states to determine on their own whether they want to legalize sports gambling.
Tell Donahue his next pick is good for 20 grand, but I need him to guarantee a win, okay? I need a lock.
He's not that fucking good.
No, Tommy, he has to. All right, he has to, or else they're going to kill me. Do you realize this, Tommy? They're going to fucking kill me. I can't afford to gamble anymore. I need a fucking lock.
Welcome into Championship Saturday. It is Lock Talk. It is Jake O'Kane with you once again. Our final 6 a.m. stream of March. Very excited to be with you. It is one of the best days of the year. Some of the most competitive basketball that we will see. But honestly, after the Friday that we just went through, it's going to be really, really hard to top it. Yeah, yesterday was absolutely incredible. Betting wise, we did pretty decent. Ended up 5-4, not as great as it looked. Started 4-1, ended up having some tough beats late in the day. Clemson obviously falling to Louisville. Purdue got smoked by Michigan, and Dayton just could not hold on. St. Joe's blew the lead, then forced overtime, and then Dayton just kind of fell off. But then UCI did wrap it up with a nice nightcap victory. That moves the month to 55-36, up 9.72 units. You see it in the title of the stream. Talked about it in the very beginning of this. Goal was to get 10 units in 2 weeks. And then next week, I want to get 10 units in 1 week. So very, very excited that we are pretty much on pace for that. Let's get into Saturday. But before we do, got to talk about Lock Talk. Had some posts on there yesterday. Excited to get back on there today. Got to download that, man. App Store, Google Play Store. However you download your apps, it is there. It is waiting for you. Talk some shit. Get some tips. Great place to be during March Madness. That's where the people are at. So make sure you download Lock Talk. It's LOCCTOCC, not to be confused. All right, before I get into my action, I've got 7 games that I'm betting today. I'm going to actually run through pretty much the entirety of the rest of the slate. It starts off Princeton and Yale. Yale is laying 7.5. Total is 146.5. I like Yale in that one if I had to lean. We had Maine and Bryant. Bryant is laying 7.5. If I had to lean anywhere, I would lean under 143.5 for that total. Moving down, Tennessee and Auburn. I tried so hard to find an angle in this game and just couldn't do it. It's going to be exciting. Do not get me wrong. There's no doubt there's going to be no shortage of exciting basketball in Nashville. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Next one, South Carolina State, playing Norfolk. Speaking of which, that Norfolk State game, the easiest under. We had a 99-point buffer going into the second half. I ended up winning it by 50. Solid one there. They get SC State, a 1 versus 2 matchup in the title game there for the MEAC. Should be Norfolk, but I could see SC State there a little bit hotter as you get into that one. But no action for me there. Moving down, another one in the Ivy League. Dartmouth is playing Cornell. Cornell's laying 5.5, total 158.5. Had no lean there. Tulane and Memphis. Memphis laying 9.5, total 149. I would lean Tulane in that one. Could not quite get there for a play. St. Joe's and George Mason. I would actually fade St. Joe's again after a wild, long overtime game yesterday. But again, not going to do that 2 times in a row. We get the Crab 5, who I called the Terp 5 yesterday. Big fuck up on my part. The Crab 5 gets the Fab 5. Not really, though, Michigan. We talked about it. I'm not a huge fan, but I don't think it's worth fading them and losing more money because laying 3.5 right now looks 3.5, 4.5, depending where you're at. FanDuel 3.5, 4.5 at Bet Rivers. Looking at the total in that, it is 150.5. I would lean under. I think Maryland's going to keep that pace down a little bit on that one. Next is going to be UAB and North Texas. North Texas laying 2.5. We also see some 3.5 out there on FanDuel. Over under in this one, 136.5 or 135.5. So a lot of different lines out there. Make sure you're shopping here this morning. A game that I want to bet I can't get a line for. Boise State and Colorado State right now. Officially, I'm seeing both teams as underdogs out there. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of discrepancy on Boise State, Colorado State, total in that 139.5. I like the over. I like the over a lot. Might still bet the over in that one. Creighton, St. John's. I couldn't get there with St. John's. The Red Storm are laying 6.5 here in the Big East title game against Creighton. Yeah, I just couldn't get there. 140.5 is the total. Also couldn't really get there. I'd actually probably lean under if I had to do anything there. Iona is playing Mount St. Mary's, laying 3.5, total 136.5. Just no play there. Liberty is just laying a little too much, and I think they're a little too maybe overhyped here, laying 6.5 against Jacksonville State. I actually would lean Jacksonville State after Liberty had a wild game with Kennesaw yesterday. If you missed that, shame on you. You shouldn't miss anything. Alabama State and Jackson State, 8:30 tip over on ESPNU. Jackson State laying 3.5, total 142.5 with no lean for me. And then we get Grand Canyon and Utah Valley at 10:40, probably going to tip closer to 11 on ESPN2. Right now, Grand Canyon is laying 3.5, total 141.5, 142.5. I'm seeing both. I would lean Utah Valley. You can actually get Utah Valley on bet 365 +4 right now. So that's enough about stuff that we aren't betting. Let's talk about what we are betting, because that's why most people come here. I would imagine that's why everybody comes here. Today's action is going to start at noon. I couldn't find any action in the 10 o'clock games that I like. So we're starting at noon, but we do have a pair at noon. VCU over 74.5 against Loyola Chicago. In the Rams' 19 games this season, they're hitting this total in 14 of them. Not an offensive superpower, I'd say, but they are 37th according to KenPom. It's a group that does not like to go out and run as much as others maybe think or rely on. These guys average nearly 30 3-point attempts per game, easily top in the A10, top 20 nationally. They don't light the world on fire, but I'll take 34% of that kind of volume. They also rank 14th, averaging 13.5 offensive rebounds per game. Had a dozen last time out. I think second chance points are going to be huge here. Looking at Loyola's side, solid team defensively. They allow just 69 points per game, but they don't crack the top 100 in just about any category. It's kind of a sea of mid when it comes to like breaking it all down. Now, against this number specifically, Loyola's kept under, all teams under except for 5 in conference. However, the caveat to that, you just have to literally read into it. It's St. Louis, Richmond, Dayton, Rhode Island, and VCU. So if you know the A10, pretty much looking at the top of the A10 with the teams that have actually hit this total against them this year. In the only matchup between these two, it was an 84-65 pantsing, and that was in Chicago. That's a little bit more than I'd probably expect in this matchup points-wise, but we're not asking for much here. 75 points. They averaged 78 points per game, and although they didn't get much pushback from the Bonnies in game 1, they cleared it. They shot only 28% from 3. I think they're going to definitely do better from that. And they only got 9 free throws. They had a pair of starters that were in foul trouble. Yeah, I like VCU going over 74.5 there against Loyola. Next one, we keep going back and forth, and we won with them yesterday. I'm going to ride my Badgers, man. Badgers plus 3.5 against Sparty. Wisconsin coming off of maybe the most impressive Wisconsin offensive performance that I've ever seen against UCLA yesterday, 86 total points. The Badgers set a Big Ten record, 19 three-pointers. They go 19 of 32. It was outstanding. Tonje gives you 28, Blackwell 18, 13 from Crowell. It was the Badgers were hitting on all cylinders yesterday. I don't think they're going to dominate this game. We just saw them play in East Lansing. It was a really, really tough game to watch that really I can't tell you that the Badgers controlled any of that game. It was really all Michigan State. So I think they bounce back here. Again, Wisconsin, it just comes down to shooting. You look at their metrics, and if they hit threes, they win. And it's pretty simple. Michigan State yesterday, we did have them against Oregon, so big shout out to Sparty. Got it done for us to start the day off. But today, we roll with my Badgers. Max Klesmit, again, is back for Wisconsin. He did not play against Michigan State in their first matchup. Now, is Max Klesmit worth 20 points? I don't think so, but he definitely helps when it comes to efficiency and definitely helps when it comes to defense. So we've got the Badgers plus 3.5 against Michigan State. Next one we're going to Nashville. Alabama, Florida, I'm going over 170. I don't really get FOMO watching college basketball. I've been really, really lucky. The only college basketball I've really indulged in is March Madness. I'm talking live. So I'd probably really, really spoiled. But this is a game where, holy shit, would I love to be at Bridgestone for this. These teams played to a 193-point finish in Tuscaloosa. That was just 10 days ago. Also, this arena has been an overfest. 8 of 12 games have gone over in the SEC tournament, so I'm not worried about shooting woes in a weird building. Bama, they run the country's fastest pace. We all know this. Florida, not terribly far behind. We're looking at the number 3 and the number 4 offenses, according to Ken Palm. Shouldn't see any shortage from that side of the floor. Each side's gone over in 7 of their past 10, and we've seen this matchup soar over in 4 straight games. Just last year, they played in this arena in a very similar situation. It was a 102-88 finish in favor of the Gators. Alabama remembers that, and in my opinion, Alabama's a better team than they were a year ago. So I think Alabama and Florida are going to play to an NBA-style pace and crush that 174 total. Feels high. It's because it is high, but these teams, they're going to score. Next one, Houston. We're going back to the Houston well, except instead of the team total, which almost fucked us yesterday, we're going Houston laying 7 just 7 against Arizona. I would play it out to 7.5 and 8. Don't know if I'd go further than 8. Maybe Friday's most impressive performance. Houston absolutely babied the Mormons and stomped out the fire that was BYU. It was a 21-point game at halftime. Houston held them to single-digit points for the first 10.5 minutes of the game. We had to sweat the hell out of that team total, like I said, because the Cougars just slowed things down as the game went on, which is fine, which is totally fine. I got no problem with that. And you can slow it down against Arizona. The Wildcats, they spent their Saturday fending off a double-digit comeback from Texas Tech. It's been a down year for Arizona, but they're back in the Big 12 championship game. So not anything I'm super worried about. And I'm certain knocking off Kansas on the way there made it so much sweeter for Arizona, even though their season's been kind of a down one. They'll be playing in March here going forward, so not too much to worry about for the Wildcats. They got a chance to really kind of put a stamp on a weird season. Now, their first 2 tournament wins were impressive, but again, Houston's a different animal. 28-4. Third toughest schedule in the nation, nothing short of remarkable. Number 2 defense in the country. It'd be number 1 because Duke doesn't have Cooper Flagg right now. It's no surprise when it comes to it, they stifle teams. And we talked about it yesterday, but it's the evolution of the offense for Houston that I'm drawn to. Rated 20th in the nation overall. You look at efficiency, transition. That's what they are for scoring. Top 50 in 2-point field goal attempts. And then you've got a team that absolutely burns it from 3. We talked about it, top 5 when it comes to threes. They're averaging 8 steals a game, forcing 14 turnovers. So that's how they're getting in transition. The volume on threes isn't crazy, but when you're shooting 40% from distance, it doesn't matter. You don't need volume when you're shooting 40%. Arizona's had a really, really good run, but I do think this is a double-digit win for Houston. Moving down below, probably our number 1 storyline of the day, lights, camera, Maction. Miami of Ohio against Akron. I'm going over 156.5. We get the Step Brothers, John Grace, Travis Steele. They share a mother, but that means nothing today. They're going head-to-head for a MAC crown. This is a 177-point beatdown at Akron in January, but Miami's been hot. 4 straight wins, 4 straight covers. They're finally seeing some solid offensive production on a consistent basis. This is a team that averages north of 80 points per game, but we've seen them be super streaky during the season. However, of late, it's been going great. This is the team that's top 50 in 3-point attempts, top 5 in 3-point percentage. You can get cold, but it's not a team that stays cold for long. Akron, they average a hair under 85 points per game, does it at the 12th quickest pace in the country. They're also a volume distance team, ranking 7th in attempts, 5th in makes, and are hitting at a 37% clip. Defensively, they're bad. 74.5 points per game against. Again, I'd look at this similar to Alabama and Florida. It's going to be an NBA-style game, which in the MAC is super, super exciting. It should be a slugfest as the Step Brothers, Grace and Steele, go at it. Next one, Louisville is catching 6 against Duke. Louisville doused our Clemson Flame yesterday, but I like the Cardinals in this spot. Duke, they were so close to blowing that game. I don't understand how the fuck you make that sort of error in that scenario. I don't know. I got buddies that are Duke fans. I was rooting so hard against Duke. I would have loved to see them lose in that scenario. But again, alas, North Carolina, lane violation, and that game is over. I think Louisville, I don't know if they get it done today, but I definitely do think they're staying within 6. These two faced off in early December, so it was a long time ago. A completely different Louisville team. They've now won 11 straight. You could call them the hottest team in college basketball. I'd have no problem with that. And obviously, again, I talked about it just before, but no Cooper Flag in this one. I think Duke can eke it out. And if they do win this thing convincingly, I will have a Duke national championship ticket. So I promise you that. I'm going to go Louisville +6. And then our final shout out and long live the Big West Nightcaps. I don't know if the Big West will survive forever. Hopefully it does not get absorbed. UC Irvine going back to the Anteaters in this one, playing UC San Diego. We're going to the team total over 64.5, almost 20 points less than what we needed yesterday. Talked about him yesterday, though. Irvine, they played a top 100 pace. Although they average north of 75 points per game, their defense just as important as their offense. They're 9th in opponent field goal percentage, 28th in scoring, 7th in both free throw attempts and makes. They don't foul. They're 5th in defensive rebounding, not allowing second chance points, getting out and running, getting to the free throw line. This is kind of the way this team works. They rank 5th, shooting over 80% from the charity stripe, and that accounts for nearly 20 points per game. It accounted for 18 in their game last night, and we were all over that total against the Ponies. Now, their opponents this time around don't quite play like Cal Poly did. Cal Poly played a little bit more wild, a little less pace and space in this one. San Diego ranks 271 in possessions per game. That equates to pace. This group plays a much different game, like I said, than the Mustangs. Very efficient on both sides of the ball. We saw them hold opponents to just 56 points per game in March. During the regular season, these two teams split games that finished 112 and 152. The low-scoring affair was really due to Irvine playing on the road at San Diego and just sitting on a lead. So unless we see something completely similar to that, I think we're going to see something a lot closer to that 152 total. Since then, though, Irvine's hit the total in every game but one, and that was a game at Hawaii, or a place where team totals go to die. They're averaging over 77 points per game. Yeah, I like UC Irvine. I like the Anteaters. I don't know if they're going to win the ball game. It's going to be tough. San Diego's really, really good. But again, team total over 64.5, and always good with desperation. You love a little desperation. All right, let's do one more recap for the one time. UC Irvine over 64.5 against UC San Diego. And I think, hold on. I know I want to make sure I'm talking units too, because yeah, that one there is a 0.6 unit play. Next, we've got Louisville +6 against Duke. That is to win a half unit. Miami of Ohio at Akron over 156.5 to win a half. Houston laying 7 against Arizona. That is a 0.6 unit play. Over 174 in Alabama, Florida. That is our largest play that we've actually had on stream yet. That's 0.8, so we're putting 0.8 on that one. VCU over 74.5, team total 0.55 to win 0.5. Badgers +3.5 to win a half. Should be a very interesting day, guys. Love the fact that there are still some people that are popping in on stream, even on a Saturday morning. Appreciate every single person for popping on the last 2 weeks. Still going to have streams for March Madness. Not going to have a stream for tomorrow. Only 5 games, but I'll definitely be getting my action out there. And again, make sure you're checking out the Lock Talk app, LOCCTOCC, a little bit different than how we spell it on this program. But yeah, other than that, we'll pick it up next week. We're going to have a tournament preview, hopefully with Joey and maybe some other guests. But yeah, super pumped. We are one day from Selection Sunday. I cannot believe it is already here. But as always, thank you for listening. Stay sharp. Good luck. And we will talk to you next week. And I didn't end the stream. Hell yeah.